Friends, by now you know I love telling great Disney stories, but I hope you don't mind if just for this week, I tell my own. If you're looking for a great Disney year in review, I highly recommend checking out Disney Food Blog or Offhand Disney. They both made incredible recaps that I watched, enjoyed, and can confidently say were expertly accurate. Since they've already nailed that part, I'd like to tell you a different story, one that's a little more personal. This is the story of a guy who in December of 2023 stood in Disneyland's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge preparing to make a video that was supposed to say, "Thank you for a great ride, but it's unfortunately time for me to quit YouTube." And not because he wanted to, but because it seemed like there was no path forward. It felt irresponsible to himself and his obligations to his family to keep chasing a dream that at that moment felt like it was never gonna happen. But before we dive in, I need to make something crystal clear. Views aren't everything. You should never define your happiness based on silly internet metrics. But at the same time, there's a reality to making a successful project in the entertainment space. It takes a certain amount of community to make something sustainable. While views don't define your project or your happiness, the audience those views bring can. And let me say this up front, I care way more about you than any view. This is a story about finding a community, not about finding views. For me, I can't do anything halfway. I'm either all the way in or I'm all the way out. So when I faced that moment at the end of 2023, to be honest, it was a make it or break it. And if I couldn't make it, I know me, I would move on and make something else. But here's the thing, the story you're about to hear is not about quitting. It's about what happens when you decide to go all in. And it is my pleasure over the next handful of minutes, I'm going to take you month by month through the most transformative year of my YouTube life. I'm excited to share with you all the big wins, the soul-crushing losses, and the lessons that changed everything for me. I'll share how I stumbled on a new formula for making YouTube videos and in the process discovered a lane I never knew I could own. And I'll even break down one of my biggest creative risks that completely backfired. So if you're ready for a story about passion, failure, resistance, and a little Disney magic, it's my honor to say, Brickey here, breaking down my 2024. And let me just say, I'm so happy that you and I are still here and I get to make this video. It is my honor that all of you have invited me into your life for just a few minutes or a few seconds. I do not ever take it for granted, and I think this will prove it. In January, I produced a total of 9 videos. The year kicked off with a video outlining my ambitious plan for the next 100 days. What I didn't share in that video was the internal challenge I'd set for myself, reach 30,000 subscribers, or I would call it quits. This was a 100-day extension that I'd given myself. But it felt risky to make such a public promise, especially since my heart wasn't ready to give up, even though my brain knew, sadly, it might be time if things didn't change. At the start of January, 30,000 subscribers felt like an impossible dream. I was aiming to gain 3,000 new subscribers in a short 100-day period. To break it down for you, in the entirety of 2023, I only got 3,000 new subscribers. So I was trying to repeat a year in 100 days. So to put it mildly, it was extremely ambitious. Or was it? January itself was about consistency and structure, with videos covering familiar territory, what's closed, price adjustments, and park updates. The current events content that helps Disney fans stay connected to the park, no matter where they may be. And at the end of it, that's very important to me. This is all about sharing the Disney magic with those that aren't as fortunate to have as much of it as I do. And speaking of having a lot of personal Disney magic, that month I was invited to my first ever DVC After Hours event, where we got a VIP stroll around Disney's California Adventure with some of my best buds, who are coincidentally all people I met through doing this channel. It was a small sign of many new Disney adventures that this year I'd get to experience for the very first time. The true standout moment came with a video titled, "A Major Reason Why Fans Were Disappointed with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge." This wasn't just another upload, it was a turning point. Filmed back on that sad night in 2023 when I was on the verge of quitting, this video marked the beginning of a new approach. At its core, it was still a design video, analyzing how the layout and storytelling elements of Galaxy's Edge didn't match fans' nostalgic expectations of Star Wars. But this time, I didn't label it as a design video or focus on what it was about. Instead, I framed it around why viewers should care. The design of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge had fooled fans. It looked authentically Star Wars with its intricate buildings and countless doors. But most of those doors went nowhere. They were locked. Facades offering storytelling illusions without many functional payoffs. Unlike Main Street USA, where your childhood imagination fills in all the gaps, this design didn't quite resonate with those kids who were now Disney adults, who felt that the land lacked energy and purpose in their meaning of Star Wars. Back in 2023, I had filmed all the B-roll, and then when it was time to tell the story, to be honest, I didn't have it in me. I was too depressed to get the words out. I was stumbling. I had no self-confidence. And that was when I made the decision to go sit at that table and make that video declaring that I needed to change things. That's why if you watch this video, a lot of the B-roll is filmed at night. And then you see all of the A-roll was filmed in the new year, when this time around, it really was a new me. To my surprise, this fresh approach had worked. The video earned over 13,000 views in its first 24 hours. That's 10,000 more than usual. And the best part, it brought in 60 new subscribers overnight. And from this moment on, I will refer to subscribers as friends, because that's how I see it. It felt like a lucky break, but it also gave me hope that this shift in strategy could save the channel and my dream. Today, that video has 96,000 views and has gained 627 new friends. It still gets viewed over 1,000 times a month. It was proof that focusing on why people should care could make design videos not just a niche passion project, but a broader success. By the end of January, I had gained 729 new friends, a dramatic turnaround from the previous month, where in December of 2023, I lost 23 subscribers. My net gain was -23, and I was up to 700 more than that. Clearly, something had changed, and for the first time in a while, I felt like I was on the right track. In February, I produced 8 new videos and focused on a critical question: could I replicate the success of January's Star Wars video? If I could crack the code on making Disneyland design videos resonate with a much broader audience, I'd not only achieve the goal that originally brought me to YouTube, but also carve out a unique niche in the Disney YouTube scene, something different from the usual content. Plus, by my calculations, I'd have an endless stream of new Disney stories to tell my audience. I started with making videos like why Disney gave up on Tomorrowland, with a simple cover reading, "You deserve better." And honestly, you do. I explored Disneyland Forward by speculating on how the new frozen world of Arendelle seemed as if it had been designed to fit perfectly into the parking lot in front of the Disneyland Hotel. These videos performed better than similar ones I'd made in the past, but I knew I needed to be more focused and calculated. After all, I was trying to save the channel, possibly my greatest creative endeavor of my life. One idea I'd been sitting on felt like a gamble: making a video about Disneyland's hidden control centers. I'd always worried that using my best ideas too early, before I had earned a larger audience, would waste their potential, but now felt like the right time. So I carefully planned a 16-minute video, revealing what I had learned about how Disneyland works during my hundreds of visits. I shared observations like how a white balloon drifting too far from Main Street signals that fireworks are canceled due to high winds. The result was how Disney tricks you into walking past hidden control rooms. And friends, I thought I had nailed it, and I hadn't. In a hurry, I posted the video because that same day I had the amazing opportunity to attend my first VIP tour of the year. I'm fortunate to say that there were more. But the initial response fell short of my hopes. 8,500 views in the first 24 hours. That was still big compared to a year ago, but I expected more. Looking back on the video, I realized it looked too technical and lacked the curiosity-driven hook that made the Star Wars video so compelling. So I changed the cover to "You Never Noticed," making it personal for the viewers, and it exploded. A week later, it had 136,000 views, and the best part, brought in 800 new friends. To date, it has over 425,000 views, and the best part, 2,600 new people have come into my world, and that part is amazing. This one video had nearly done what the entire year before had managed to do. This video proved that the design content could work if I framed it the right way. Sure, some people called me an idiot or nitpicked the details that they had thought I got wrong, but far more connected with the content, becoming my friends who wanted to join me on this journey. Friends, let me ask you a question. When something works twice in a short period, is it luck or is it the beginning of a strategy? That question came into play when a new opportunity dropped into my lap. Online chatter revealed that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge had come closer to including a third attraction than anyone had realized. Imagineer Jim Schull, who has a YouTube channel that you should definitely go check out, shared on X that the land was designed to accommodate a third ride. Suddenly, details of the land that had never made sense to me started clicking. I didn't have it completely figured out, but I knew I had enough to tell a compelling story. Leaning into my design background, I created Canceled, Missing Third Attraction at Galaxy's Edge Explained. The cover was simple, an image of an area that always felt weird and off, paired with the bold claim, "This was supposed to be a ride." If this worked, it would solidify a type of content I was uniquely qualified to make. Unlike most channels that respond to the news, I was creating it. And the result? 50,000 views and 200 new friends in its very first day. Today, that video has over 370,000 views and has brought 1,400 new friends into my world, and it still gets viewed over 100 times a day. Now, not every experiment worked this month. I also tried a history video, which is another huge Disney passion of mine, and it did not connect with the audience. That video now lives in Videos You May Have Missed playlist, which is below in the description box for anyone who's curious. But by the end of February, I had gained 4,200 new friends. For comparison, in February of 2023, I gained 40. Maybe the leap year gave me an edge with that one extra day, or perhaps I had finally found my thing. Either way, in the shortest month of the year, I beat the goal I was too afraid to announce to the world and realized I didn't have to quit if I could just keep going. In March, I published another 9 videos. By this point, I had already crushed my 100-day goal of gaining 3,000 new subscribers, thanks to February's momentum alone. This success put me in a stress-free, free-roll mindset, allowing me to create for the first time in a long time without the weight of pressure. I set out to repeat my earlier successes, and it worked. Nearly every video outperformed what I had been capable of the year before. However, one video did fall very flat. Why I'm not going to Star Wars Night 2024. This video was a clear reminder that my audience didn't come to my channel for the same old takes on current events. They were here for a fresh perspective on future projects, unique insights, and uncovering fun, unexpected stories from Disneyland's past. When I first became a student of Disneyland, I was amazed at how deep the history went. One story was more fascinating than the next, but not all of these stories were big enough to warrant an entire video. Some of the smaller stories, though, were the most intriguing, and I decided to stitch a few of my favorites together into one video, the first episode of Disneyland Oddities. This video included stories inspired by a couple of articles I'd found, claiming animatronics were buried and paved over in Frontierland. My mind could not even handle the idea of an animatronic tomb buried somewhere inside of Disneyland. I also shared the surprising tale of fishing inside of Disneyland, a gun shop, a smoke shop, and the tragic story of the 2 Disneyland helicopters that crashed and took the lives of their passengers. These small stories stitched together found a big audience. Today, Disneyland Oddities has over 300,000 views, but more importantly, it brought in 2,300 new friends into my world. By the end of March, I was nearing the 100-day mark, and I had not only found a way to get people to watch Disneyland design videos, but I was also discovering a way to share the park's history in a compelling way. And honestly, I had never been happier doing this thing that already made me extremely happy in the first place. But as the 100-day milestone approached, there was a big wake-up call waiting for me in my next 2 videos. April brought 7 new videos, the much-anticipated 100-day milestone, and what I consider my first big major professional failure that I turned into a personal success. The final video of the unbelievable run I had been on was also my biggest miss of the year. What does Autopia going electric mean for Tomorrowland 2036? I worked extra hard on this video, but not many folks cared. Let me explain. I filmed it early one cold rainy morning before heading out to Walt Disney World for business. I edited it all night on a red-eye flight out to the East Coast. Then, a couple days later, I woke up super early to finish it and upload it from Pop Century Resort. Despite all that extra effort, it fell flat. It only managed 5,700 views and brought in one new friend in the first 24 hours. Thank you, one new person. You're my dog. That day, while at Walt Disney World, I kept refreshing my phone, hoping for a breakthrough, but it became clear that it just wasn't going to happen this time. It brought back all those old feelings of failure, like I'd foolishly poured my heart into something that only I cared about, and the one new person. All while others were effortlessly succeeding by filming food they were eating and spirit jerseys with a fraction of the effort that I was putting in. But you know, comparison is always the thief of joy. But this time around, instead of being a prisoner of my self-doubt, I chose to embrace the freedom of my present. I made a decision right then and there. No more editing from the road on that trip. Instead, I would simply embrace my time with my wife and my best friends, go on my second VIP tour of the year, how does this keep happening to me, and focus on being in the present. And you know what? I never regretted it. My first 2024 trip to Walt Disney World ended up being incredible. It felt less like a work trip and more like a victory lap, a celebration of the past 100 days and a much-needed mental reboot. I captured tons of B-roll, much of which I've used here and there and will continue to use over the years, but I never made a single video from that trip. And you know what? That felt like a huge win. The biggest highlight of that month came from a deeply personal video, how I almost quit YouTube and what saved me. This video was my 100-day challenge update, and on paper, the video didn't perform well at all. It's one of my worst of the year. But the real win was beyond the metrics. If you watch this video, and then you go back and watch the final video of 2023 I published in December, you will see a new version of me. Someone who looks and sounds like a happy and healthy creative mind. And friend, that was the real win of the 100-day challenge. Not only did I find new friends, but I had found myself and my proper creative voice inside the Disney YouTube ecosystem. You see, this entire time, I thought I was trying to find you, but in turn, it seems I was really trying to find me. In May, feeling recharged, I released 12 new videos. None of them were breakout hits, but I had a lot of fun experimenting, seeing what I could get away with and figuring out what would work. One of my experiments was launching a series about Walt Disney himself. I've always been fascinated by Walt, constantly reading books about Disneyland and his life. For this series, I started breaking down his principles, collecting stories, quotes, and lessons from the big guy, and stitching them together in videos all around a central theme. It didn't really work, but I learned a lot about Walt in the process, and I'm still working on refining this idea. When the time is right, I know it'll come together. I also ventured into videos from the road. On my annual anniversary trip with Beth to Palm Springs, I made a video about Catino. As, let's not forget, I was the first one to ever do a live stream from Catino, and I was definitely the first person to ever walk its outer circumference on a live stream. For those that were there when I was singing Wilson Phillips in the Desert, I guess this is a story of, I know that there is pain, but you hold on for one more day. I followed that up with another video during my trip to the licensing show in Las Vegas, showing Disneyland's influence on Sin City in the 90s. I love the idea of being on the road, getting up early to film, editing on planes, uploading from hotel rooms. It's creatively romantic to me, but not to my friends on YouTube. Those videos never seem to resonate with the audience, so I've decided to embrace traveling for what it is. Time away, and not worrying about turning every trip into a story. But who knows, maybe someday it will work. One standout moment from May was filming a video in Las Vegas. I got up so early to film the Vegas video, 4:45 a.m. I was outside filming the strip at 5 a.m. to get it without any people on it, and also to make sure my expensive camera didn't get stolen. I walked from the Luxor to Treasure Island and back, capturing footage all along the way, and then heading straight into a meeting at 9:30 a.m. I love that kind of hustle, but without a payoff, it's simply too much effort. Effort that I know will wear me down in the long run. Looking ahead, I have a major trip planned for this December of 2025. And hopefully by then, I will have learned this getting people to care about me on the road thing, because it's going to be an insane European adventure. And you're hearing it here first. I'm going to the Matterhorn, the real Matterhorn. And that's just one stop on my epic Disney European adventure, where I'm tracing some of Walt's footsteps and going back to the origins and the inspiration of Disneyland. And some of you know exactly the theme park that I'm talking about. June was another month of 12 videos, and just like the month before when I put out a lot of videos, none were breakout hits. But also like earlier months in this year, it brought some valuable lessons. This month's biggest lesson came to me during my second trip to Walt Disney World. It was a quick visit with a clear goal. How do I make Disney World content that people care about? One of the highlights of this trip, and the reason why I took the trip in the first place, was I was lucky enough to be invited to a Club 33 private preview of Tiana's Bayou Adventure by a very good friend of mine. But as one rule, no one films on the first ride. And I love that rule. We rode it and had an absolute blast, and we didn't film it. And then the ride broke down. Most people left, but we decided to wait it out. When the ride reopened, there were only about 20 or 30 people still around who stuck it out, which meant we got to ride it on repeat. We must have bayoued over a dozen times, and having a brand new Disney attraction all to ourselves was one of my highlights of the year. I was drenched, and I had a lot of fun, and I will never ride it again. I typically carry a small Apple Store on me when you see me in the parks. I made a video about this experience, and while it performed okay, the real win of this trip came on the final day. That was the challenge day, my attempt to make Disney World content that truly connected with my viewers. I rope drop Epcot and filmed my first video of the day. Disappointed? Epcot World Celebration Transformation Explained. In this video, I explain why the design of the new area served as a bridge project, and how the designers had done a good job despite significant constraints. But people didn't want to hear it from a creative's perspective. No offense taken, I just happen to have a very different perspective than most. From being a high-level creative professional, an award-winning designer, and a theme park fan. The real challenge came next. I went to Starbucks, organized my research, and began writing my second video of the day about Figment. I explored his origin story and shared my confusion about why I didn't get to meet the real Figment, only his modern day clone. Everybody had told me how great Figment was. When I finally got to meet him, I thought he was a bit of a jerk. Once my notes were sorted, I filmed the video indoors because it had started pouring rain. Despite that extra effort, only the nicest of people complained, and that is sarcasm. With 2 videos down, I felt like I had one more video in me before the park closed. I went back to Starbucks. I got another Trento of cold brew with extra ice and a light splash of cream. I had my research. I planned my shots while keeping in mind that the nightly fireworks would definitely complicate things. After I had my script and shot locations figured out, I started at Future World before the fireworks began. I filmed on the bridge right before the show started, and then let Epcot slowly empty out. Once the park was nearly deserted, I filmed a lap around the World Showcase, knowing I'd only get one chance to get everything right. I walked around the park explaining some of the obstacles that happened during its construction. And you know what? People liked it. What had worked in Disneyland was working at Walt Disney World. This would give me 4 new parks and an endless amount of hotels to talk about. Even though I had rope dropped, I may have been the last person to leave Epcot that night. And in that entire day of Epcot, I managed to create 3 videos in one day, and people seemed to care about at least 2 of them. 66% would be great if I was in baseball. The second Walt Disney World trip of the year was successful. 4 videos, decent views, and most importantly, a solid excuse to book my 3rd trip of the year. After back-to-back months of doing 12 videos, this month I decided to reduce my output, but to try to get back to bigger videos. For the month of July, I put out 9 videos, and one of those happened to be my biggest video of the year. A video that started slow, but eventually earned more than half the total views I got in all of 2023. This month I continued experimenting with content. I uploaded the 3rd episode of Disneyland Oddities, which performed well and solidified the series as a favorite of my friends. I essentially remade my earlier Epcot video, but this time I focus on Tomorrowland 1967 here at Disneyland, diving deep into its design and history. I also managed to spark a conversation around a current event by discussing my disappointment with the design of Din Tai Fung, highlighting how it seemed to go against everything the new Downtown Disney redesign was supposed to stand for. Admittedly, I may have gone a little too far down the design rabbit hole with a video breaking down Disney's new robots, explaining how these little guys were a sketch of big ideas to come. It was a deep dive, but one I enjoyed taking. But the real breakout, though, came from an unexpectedly simple video about Main Street's vehicles. Every morning when I start filming, I test my camera equipment on Main Street, often using the vehicles as my subject matter. Over time, this has turned into a bit of a passion. Now I can't not film the vehicles whenever they pass me. I archive all of my footage and have terabytes of Disney B-roll, including hours of the Main Street vehicles. During a week when I was feeling under the weather and didn't want to risk getting anyone else sick at Disneyland, I stayed home and decided to use my B-roll to tackle another video I'd been too scared to make. An explanation of the Main Street vehicles. To me, they're one of the most overlooked vibe rides in all of Disneyland. The reason why I hesitated was because the vehicles mean so much to me, and I know I'd only get one chance to tell their story. But finally, I decided to go for it, applying everything I'd learned in my 2024 year of growth, and my patience paid off. The video has since earned over 500,000 views, and it's brought in over 1,200 new friends to my world. You never see me in this video. You just hear my voice and my storytelling. I enjoy making these videos, even though they take far more time. But when the timing and the subject are right, this template works beautifully. And interestingly, I don't think it's my best video. Even though it's performed as my best video to date, it's not my best video if you ask me. And this is a great reminder that the algorithm and the public don't always view your success the way that you do. It is also a highlight how foolish it is to set out to beat your own high score, because ultimately the outcome isn't up to you. You can't control the outcome, only the passion and fun you put into making the video. I hope I never lose sight of that, because that's what keeps Hey Brickey so fun and rewarding for me. August would bring another 9 videos and my third visit to Walt Disney World, and the return of D23, a perfect storm for Disney YouTube content. I felt like I had a strong D23 strategy this year, knowing it was a time when more people than usual would be interested in the Disney theme parks on YouTube. The month started with another control panels video, where I broke down how Disneyland's fireworks are executed and where all the equipment hides during the day to transform Main Street into an outdoor theater for 15 minutes each night. I made a silly mistake in this video by referring to moving lights as lasers, a term we used back in my music days to differentiate them from stationary gel lights. Man, oh man, do I wish I could change that slip up in that video, because it's pointed out to me nearly once a week. But despite that, the video was a big success, and it felt great because it was calculated to be a big success. It also felt great to have a strong piece of my best work ready to go when Disney content was in higher demand. I also launched a documentary-style video about the Disneyland Skyway on the first day of D23. It was my way of trying to offer something different among a flood of predictable D23 videos. Another creative gamble that paid off. After starting the month strong with 2 of my favorite videos and 2 of my best performing videos of the year and building a solid base, I shifted into D23 mode. On Sunday morning, I walked around Disneyland, breaking down all the news we'd learned just 12 hours earlier, but I explained what would happen and where it would happen, offering a boots-on-the-ground perspective compared to theme park pundits filming from home studios. After covering some of the most pressing Disneyland announcements and some of the most non-announcements, I had already booked a flight back to Disney World for my third visit of the year. This time, my goal was to provide more boots-on-the-ground breakdowns of big projects, proving again that I'm out there in the field, doing the legwork and sharing my unique designer's perspective in the location where these transformations will happen. I focused on creative problem solving and designing within constraints, 2 of my channel's core principles. None of my videos became breakout hits, but they held their own in a sea of similar content. I felt proud knowing my work stood out, not just because it was shot on location, but because of the professionalism of my perspectives. In years past, when I made the same video as everyone else, it always felt to me that I came in last place. This time, while I wouldn't say I won the D23 battle for views, I did hold my own, and that felt like a sweet victory. August also brought another personal milestone. It was my 3rd appearance on the Walt Disney World News Today podcast. This time, getting to sit down with not only Eric, who I'd recorded my first 2 episodes with, but with Tom. And it was amazing to be a part of their official D23 breakdown. What an honor. One of the biggest things of the year, and getting to cover it, one of the biggest websites that covers the world of Disney. I mean, this is a website I go to several times a day. And now to be creating content with them just shows how far I've traveled in this last year. And I'm excited that I'll be returning to their studios next month for Promising Tomorrows, their fan celebration of Space Mountain turning 50 in 2025. I'll even get to interview some of the Imagineering team that built Disneyland Space Mountain. There's a link in the description box below if you'd like to attend the event live and meet me there, or if you want to stream it online. I'm thrilled to be included and to have a chance to collaborate with other creatives that I respect. September, I would release 11 videos. Technically 12, because the 12th one came out on October 1st, and I had to do the work the day before. But personally, it was one of my busiest months. I had more meetings in LA than I'd had since the 2020 shutdown, but my YouTube goal remained the same: 3 videos a week, even if it meant creating some from the home studio this month. In case you haven't realized it yet, I'm big on personal goals and testing myself. I've been working for myself for over 3 decades, and I still treat each week as if it's the week where I finally figure out the perfect mix of responsibility, creativity, work, play, and spending as much time as possible with my best friend, my wife, Beth. This month, I wanted to see what it felt like to hit all 3 videos a week consistently. Could volume make the channel grow? And was it worth the extra effort of getting up at 4:30 a.m., editing until 6:30, then hopping in the car to make it to a meeting at Paramount Studios by 9 a.m.? Normally, I don't talk much about my role as an ad executive with Lincoln Design Co., but this month, we were crushing it with the clients. Still though, I refused to take my foot off the YouTube gas pedal. I wanted to do it all. The result? Not too good. The videos just did okay, but not well enough to justify the unbalanced life I was living. And nothing is rarely worth that. However, the experiment revealed a trend. On the months when I focused on consistently putting out the highest volume of videos, say 9 or 12 a month, overall, views would go down. It was the final proof that I needed. Following the math over passion never worked out. At the end of the month and the start of October, I took off to Buffalo, New York to spend a week with Beth's amazing family. And on this trip, I wanted to reflect on what I really wanted to do with my newfound success on YouTube. Do I want to make the most videos, or do I want to start trying to make the best videos? By now, I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm going to pick. October brought just 5 videos. Spoiler, the worst month of the amazing year. Let me explain where everything went wrong. Coming back from my Buffalo trip, I had time to reflect on what I truly wanted for the channel. I spent the month spacing out content I'd already planned. Content that was designed to be a part of a higher volume strategy. These videos weren't built to stand alone, they were meant to sing in a choir with other videos, not as solo performers. As I reflected, I started daydreaming about a new strategy. What if I made just 1 video per week? What would that look like? I imagined how freeing it would be to pick the perfect topics, to have time to read, research, and hunt down archival footage. I love the forensic part of making videos. It's one of my favorite pastimes to research. I fell in love with the idea of devoting more time to storytelling. And this shift in my mindset brought exciting possibilities. I could start writing full scripts instead of relying on bullet points that I would improv from one to the other. I'd avoid being repetitive or over-explaining, and I'd tell bigger, more impactful stories much quicker. Plus, I'd have extra time to relax my brain, read a little bit more, and avoid the constant rush of what's the next video. So I put my great idea to a test. I picked what I thought was a surefire winner, a wild, rare-known Disney story that I wrote in a tongue-in-cheek style, breaking down a massive marketing strategy as if it were a political cover-up. I poured my heart into it, and when it was done, I thought, this might just be the video of the year, or maybe my best video ever. The video, Poo for President. The result, a complete and total disaster. By far, the worst received video of my outstanding year. At first, I panicked. Said, oh no, did I just break my channel? Was I overthinking everything? I also started to panic. Was it the constant state of hustle that had kept me in a creative state of flow all along? To be honest, I spiraled a little bit, and I thought, oh no, did I just ruin this thing I'd worked so hard to build? And then I had that personal crisis. I started to think, oh no, am I one of those self-destructive creatives. Am I now only realizing this about myself? Friends, my October wasn't just spooky, it was scarier than Halloween. November was the time to stop the emotional freakout, pick 5 solid videos for the month, embrace the once per week mindset, and learn a new workflow. It was a reset, and good news, it worked. The month began with a trip to Oregon, during which I'd launched another documentary, this time about Disneyland State Fair. The video did okay. Not the breakout hit I'd hoped for, but it performed twice as well as Pooh for President, which felt like a small step in the right direction. I mean, after all, progress is progress. Next, I leaned into my love of Disneyland's unique design features with a video about the Disneyland Dark Water System. It's part of a series I'm working on all about water in Disney parks. I followed it up with another deep dive into the evolution of the underground structures at Disney parks. Both videos resonated, climbing to the top of my new average. People were watching again, people were subscribing again, and I was feeling good again. And for the first time in a while, I could see a real growth, and it felt terrific. Then came a passion project I'd always wanted to make, a video about the old Frontierland train station, a location that had always confused me. With my newly found extra production time, I dove deeper than ever, researching and storytelling in ways that just hadn't been possible on the quicker turnaround. This video exploded. I had found my lane, how to maximize a 1-week production schedule while digging deeper into stories that truly fascinated me. With both personal and professional travel slowing down after a hectic fall, I finally had time to focus, and it showed in the results. I capped off the month with a critique of the new Madame Leota Bed Bath & Beyond barn. I had been keeping an eye on this for months, waiting for the project to either improve, it didn't, or reach a point where I could give an informed critique. And we got to that point when they brought down the construction walls, and it still didn't match what I believe should be Disneyland's own expectations. It was perfect timing as I prepared for a busy week of traveling back to Disney World, and oh boy, did this video find an audience. With back-to-back videos with 150,000 views, this taught me a valuable lesson. I could successfully explain the past, present, and future if I took my time, did my research, and crafted not just a good argument, but a great story. As I approached a milestone birthday, I realized something kind of profound. I had finally figured out how to make this not only work, but how to make it realistically work for the long haul. And that, my friends, was possibly the greatest birthday gift I could ever have given myself. December marked the end of an incredible year, with my final 4 videos bringing me to a perfect 100 videos for 2024. The month also brought my 4th trip to Walt Disney World, this time joined by close friends and family to celebrate a milestone birthday. It was an epic adventure filled with Disney first, a 3rd VIP tour of the year. How unreal is that? But I got spun out on Slinky Dog as our first ride of the day. I just don't do rides very well, so I set out the rest of the rides on our tour. But I loved watching my friends enjoying themselves and getting to ride around in a van backstage and just see how it all works. To me, that is the e-ticket attraction. While everyone else did Cosmic Rewind for a second time, I did get to have the best ride of my visit. Ryan, our tour guide and now good friend, he and I rode Spaceship Earth together. It's my second favorite ride at Walt Disney World, and we just exchanged fun facts about the ride the entire time. It was the kind of moment that's so uniquely Disney and one I'll never forget. We also did the Keys to the Kingdom tour, where I got to go under Cinderella Castle. I have officially Utiladored. And I attended both Jollywood Nights and the Magic Kingdom Christmas Party, whose name is too complicated for me to remember. Mickey has a Christmas party. I filmed both events, but I now know better than to make a video about it. All that holiday footage will tell a better story someday down the road when it comes to me. But the highlight, though, was my birthday dinner atop of the Contemporary Resort, surrounded by the people I love, and many of these people who I met through doing just this, uploading and telling my version of the Disneyland story, the heart and the art of the parks. I also got to tell everyone how much they mean to me, and I love telling people that I love them. It was and will always be one of my greatest Disney memories. The end of the year also brought more clarity about how YouTube actually works. The algorithm is incredibly effective at finding more of what viewers love and serving them videos based on their unique viewing history. When you swim with the tide, you can go far. But when you swim against it, the struggle is real. This year taught me that my truly creative videos often fall flat. It's not because people don't care and people don't enjoy them, or not because they're not good, but because YouTube struggles to find similar content to link them to. These videos can generate the best responses from those who actually find them and watch them, but they reach a much smaller audience. My dream is to reach a point where I'm too big to fail, where my audience is large enough to support my most creative ideas. I often think about, and this is no shade, more out of respect, but I often think about how if Tim Tracker and I dropped the exact same video at the exact same time, his would go so much further simply because of the reach that he's earned. And that's the reality of YouTube. Scale matters, and views bring along with them friends. So to test this theory, I re-released 2 older videos to see if I'd gained more influence over my year with YouTube. My Christmas video earned a lot of compliments, but didn't see much new engagement. However, my Walt Disney Incorporated video did much better than it had done 2 years prior, proving that with patience and time, I believe I can build the trust and audience needed to pursue the creative work that I dream of making, and I hope to earn that moment to make them. On my birthday, at Disney Hollywood Studios, before our tour kicked off, I made sure that I watched One Man's Dream, the story of Walt Disney, and I had a good cry. But this time, it wasn't just an emotional moment. It felt like a moment of clarity. For the first time, I felt like I truly understood Walt's story in a way that I hadn't before. I could feel his optimism, his relentless drive, and his belief in what was still possible. His optimism mirrored my own. I felt a deep certainty that my future work would be bright, that my best years were just beginning. And hopefully, like Walt, I have so much more left to share with the world and so many more great stories to tell. Some might define this year as being successful because I had 5.8 million views, which was 440% more than the year before. But I would define this year as a success because I found 32,600 new friends, which was 976% more than the year before. It's also more subscribers than I had when I began the year. I had doubled down on myself, found my lane, found my voice, and in return, found so many more of you, doubling my channel, breaking my expectations, and making me feel incredibly thankful and grateful that you're here, and that we get to spend many more years together exploring the story of Disneyland together as friends.